Our insecurities are the worst, but we've all got them. So in this episode, I'll show you how to keep them from costing you time, stress, and money. All right, today we're going to talk about the motivation behind why we spend money. You may not be aware, but certain insecurities have an effect on the way you spend. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about insecurities in several areas of our lives. I'm going to be talking to my friend and relationship expert, Dr. Les Parrott, about insecurities people come across in marriage. I'll be interviewing someone who fell into the trap that so many of us do, where she was spending thousands of dollars to impress other people. And we're going to talk about the number one insecurity for a lot of women out there. All right, listen, we all deal with this in a variety of ways. Some people buy houses they can't afford to impress people they don't even know, or go on a shopping spree to buy clothes to make them feel good about themselves. There are so many different motivations behind our spending, and we just need to be aware of them. And we all struggle with insecurities. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. It's actually very normal, but normal can drain our bank accounts. For instance, I read an article in the New York Times last month. You guys, it was insane. And it's kind of an extreme example of all of this, but it was a true story. There was a couple, they went on their honeymoon, and they came back from their honeymoon, and they almost got divorced because of it, okay? Because the entire time on the honeymoon, the woman in the relationship there was like freaking out about every sunset, and she had to get in the ocean. She had to pose. It was like this whole vacation, this whole honeymoon full of nightmares for her husband. Her husband said it was one of the most miserable weeks of his life because he didn't feel like they had a honeymoon. He felt like they were chasing around sunsets to have pictures of something that was not even going to be published in a magazine, but for her to post on Instagram. Now, again, kind of extreme, but there's a lot of people that post a lot of pictures on their honeymoon, which I'm not saying that's terrible. But you guys, it got to the point so bad that they got home and they almost got divorced. They said it was for a number of reasons. And I was like, yeah, because she's probably a little bit, you know what I mean? But, I mean, it just was terrible. And then there was another couple they highlighted in the article who lived in London, and one of their favorite places to go was like the countryside of England. And so they planned their honeymoon there, and they could afford 10 days there, 10 days, have a great honeymoon and a place they loved. But she said that when people started asking her where they were going on their honeymoon, she told them where, and everyone was like, oh, they just weren't impressed. And because of people's reactions, she changed their honeymoon destination to go to Italy instead, and they could only afford to go 5 nights, and they stayed at this like terrible Airbnb that didn't even have air conditioning, and it was like a loft. So the way the ceiling was and the way the bed was, they said they couldn't even have sex on their honeymoon because they couldn't even sit up in bed. Guys, all because of other people's expectations and what she wanted to portray on Instagram. And she even said that she would look at restaurants around their Airbnb and look at the menu to figure out, okay, will the food be really pretty that I can post on Instagram? And that's where I want to go. Like, that was her motivation behind what restaurant she was going to on their honeymoon, okay? I mean, it's crazy where we have gotten in our world with social media. And it's so hard because everyone's highlight reels are so visible, right? And what it can do is amplify our own insecurities. So what you have to focus on is what really matters in your life, okay? What really matters. And a lot of that comes with being content with where you are. This is going to be huge because when you're not content, your insecurities are going to flare up, and more than likely you're going to end up spending more money. So that's one of the reasons I wrote the Contentment Journal. You guys, if you've not checked it out, make sure you do. You can start reading for free. Make sure to click the link in the show notes because finding contentment is extremely important in this process. All right, let's talk about another area of insecurity that some of us have. All right, when it comes to being a woman, one of the biggest insecurities that we have is all of this, right? Body image to skin, hair, clothes. Oh my gosh, we put so much pressure on ourselves for our outward appearance. Brene Brown did a study and found that 90% of women, 9 out of 10 of them, feel shame about their body. Women spend over $3,700 on beauty products every year. And one of the most popular apps for your phone lets you actually edit your face for selfies. Man, okay, here's the deal. There's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself, okay? But are you spending money for the wrong reasons? Listen, being preggo here and having 2 other babies, this being my 3rd, things happen to the body when you grow a baby inside you, people. And I was looking at this maternity website. It's a very popular one. I'm not gonna say it because I don't wanna shame them. But they have a clothing line for after the baby, and it's called Bounce Back Body Clothing Line. And I was like, I'm sorry, what if my body doesn't bounce back? What if it changes forever? Like, are we okay with that? And for some people, we're not okay with that, which makes me so sad. Like, we celebrate celebrities who are walking around in their bikinis like 2 days after having a baby, and it's on the news. And like, that's what's celebrated. So can we just say out loud, people, that that's not normal? And people that do that, I mean, good for them, sure. But they have a team of people, okay? And so it is not normal. Doctors even say it takes a year to get your body back after your baby. If it does come back, sometimes it doesn't. And we're all gonna be okay with that, okay? The beauty and health industry is a billion-dollar industry. So there's every kind of cream, pill, product to make you feel better about yourself. Now again, taking care of yourself and being healthy, there is nothing wrong with that. If anything, I would encourage that. It makes you feel better. But spending money for the sole purpose of keeping up with others will not fix your insecurities. In fact, it's going to continue to magnify them. I mean, we could do a whole series on this topic. I could bring in experts. We could talk about all of this. But just to speak as your money BFF, your money friend here, I don't want you spending money based off of those insecurities. And sometimes the best way to check your heart is to check your bank account. So I'm gonna challenge you. Go back and look at last month's transactions and see if there were times that you spent money, either because you were insecure in a situation or maybe because you were comparing yourself to someone else. It might be a really interesting exercise. It's a good one. I did this. It's kind of convicting, I'm not gonna lie. It's really good, you need to do it. All right, coming up next is a guest who is comparing herself to others while draining her bank account.
I felt confused, like I was missing something, missing the boat on something, God's calling on my life. I was about $40,000 in debt. I was trying to fill a hole with things, with material things, handbags, jewelry, shoes, sunglasses, watches, and I would purchase things, realizing I didn't need them, and then spend the entire weekend returning all of them. But the feeling that I would get would be happiness and kind of that gratification for a moment, and then I'd all of a sudden feel the weight of the world back on me. I realized that I wasn't living the life that God wanted me to live, and it was something that I needed to dig into deeper. I needed to know kind of why I was feeling that way, what were things I was trying to suppress, the childhood stuff, needing to people please and impress people and be perfect and look perfect. When I started Financial Peace, I felt a peace. It was a peace that I literally cannot put into words. I felt the Holy Spirit wash over me. My money started to change. I was in control this time because I was submitting it to God first. It's all His anyway. So I'm a steward of it.
Lacey, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and sharing your story. So your story it's amazing. So unpack a little bit of it for me and just kind of how your spending habits where it kind of began and where you are today.
So it started when I was younger, but I think it got hot and heavy when I was about 18 or 19, when I got my first credit card. I remember actually driving in a car that was probably less expensive than the sunglasses I had on at the time. So yeah, that was an eye-opener for me. But it started young, and looking back, it was a lot of just trying to fill a void and trying to impress people. And
yeah, absolutely. So were you around like your friends and kind of like the group you kind of hung around? Would you say were pretty like affluent? Like you felt like you had to keep up this appearance because of the people you were around? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, I would say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's an issue I feel like we struggle with. I mean, so many people, right, in this culture, in this world today. I mean, it's constant. And so for you, though, racking up a lot of credit card debt, $40,000, right? And you kind of hit a point that you're like, okay, something has to change emotionally in your heart and financially. You're like, I don't want to keep doing this over and over again. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, what was that breaking point for you?
I would say when I was at my hometown church in Houston, he was doing a relationship series. And for some reason, that all aligned. It was about becoming the person you're looking for is looking for. Good old Andy Stanley.
It's good,
Yeah.
yes.
But that actually opened the door for the financial bit. I always knew I needed to get it together. I couldn't. And of course, I would feel bad about that. Then I would spend more. Then I would return everything. And then it was a lovely cycle.
Yes. So when you were in that cycle, like what would that look like? You'd go out, you'd go shopping. You said you return stuff. So like walk me through just that. I'm just curious what that looked like for you.
Yes, I would after work on a Friday, I would be feeling a certain way. Now that I look back, I know what it was. Just feeling bad about that day, feeling like I didn't do enough. I needed something to fill that void, that hole. And so I would go to good old TJ Maxx and Home Goods and Target.
Yes.
Where I'm not allowed to go anymore. Actually, no, I can go there now. I can go there now because I've got strength that I didn't have before.
That's right. That's right.
But I would go and I would spend money on things that I could afford because I made plenty of money, but I really couldn't afford.
Yeah.
Didn't need, and then realized in the morning I had to wake up and return all of it. And I would go out of my way to go to different stores that weren't those stores to return because I was embarrassed.
Yes.
I was embarrassed.
Yes.
Yeah, I felt ashamed. And
No, absolutely. I mean, and I think that's such a great picture. It's such a great example of what we deal with in our world today. So take like even the money piece out of it. But the emotional side, like we really do believe that stuff is going to make us happy and that it is going to fulfill us. If I could just have this new thing. And I say that to myself sometimes. I mean, I can fall into that. And so it's so funny though, because I'm like, that's not true, right? You said within a few hours, you'd be like, okay, that was it. I need to go return it now. It's like the high is over. And so talk to me about people that they're kind of like scratching that itch for themselves constantly and they're constantly buying things. What would you say to someone? But that's kind of their story.
Oh, well, I would say that God's going to be the only thing that's going to fill that hole.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
And then everything else aligns. Literally, everything else aligns.
Yeah.
So I would say that they're not alone, that there's so many other people out there like them. I know I felt like that I was the only one and I was, embarrassed. I thought I had it all together, but behind closed doors, I knew that I didn't. I'd lie to myself and tell myself certain things and come to find out, the older I got, I realized all those other people were going through the same thing I was. They were dealing and doing the same thing I was, playing a part, filling a void. And some people filled it in different ways. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a beautiful journey I wouldn't take back.
Absolutely. Well, on this show, I feel like we talk a lot about the tactical side of money, of like paying off debt and getting on a budget and getting control and all of that. But money's usually the symptom of other things, right? Of deeper issues, like kind of what you were saying. And like, I feel like we all have tendencies to medicate.
Yes.
But you have to get to the root and the problem. And that the problem's different for everyone. And everyone's looks different. And yours happen to be just spending money to medicate in that way.
Yeah.
But for people out there, I think that's just such a good reminder of like, dig into yourself, right? And your story and know where that comes from. Because once you can solve that root, like you're saying, and then you get these tactical principles on top of it, then you can start to make progress.
Yes.
So getting tactical. So you had $40,000.
Yes.
You decided to go to Financial Peace University.
Yes.
Yes. Can you tell me about that?
Oh gosh. A legit godsend. I mean, but I couldn't come up with a better name for financial peace than just that, financial peace, because it's exactly what it gave me. And from day one, it's something that I want everybody to feel.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And you've paid down how much debt so far?
$7,200.
$7,200, girl.
Yeah.
You're like killing it.
Yeah.
Do you feel the traction?
Yes,
like,
I do.
You feel like it's like,
I do. Yeah, it's kind of bananas looking back.
You're doing it, girl. You're
Thank
killing
you.
it.
Thank
Come
you.
back on when you're debt free. So
I will.
celebrate.
To the stream.
Yeah.
Yes,
We'll
to the stream.
celebrate. So awesome. Well, thanks, Lacey.
Thank you so much.
So good. Oh, you guys, wasn't Lacey great? Seriously, I love it. She was able to tackle her debt and start creating a life that she loved simply by getting on a plan. Now, a big part of that plan is securing your family's future. This includes planning for the unexpected, and that's where term life insurance comes in. Term life insurance will give you the security and the peace of mind necessary for sleep at night, like no matter what stage of life you're in. Winston and I use Zander Insurance for our family. You want to make sure that you have 10 to 12 times your annual income and coverage. And Zander makes things super easy. They walk with you through every step of the process, shop all the top carriers to find you the best rates and make sure you're getting exactly what you need. They'll give you a huge peace of mind for such a small amount of money. So find out for yourself and go to Zander.com and get a quote today. All right, coming up next, I'm bringing on my friend and relationship expert, Dr. Les Parrott, who is going to talk about how insecurities are costing you in your marriage. Les, thanks for being here.
Always good to be with you, girl.
Always fun.
Super fun.
We're usually on the road.
I was going to say we've been out changing the world, trying to help people in their married life with their money, right?
I know, it's been good. It's been good. Okay, question for you. This episode is all about insecurities and how our insecurities can sometimes
I'm probably not qualified to talk about this. I just feel very insecure about this question. So,
speak out of your own experience.
yes, I can, actually. We all have insecurities,
yes,
right?
I know, totally.
Nobody's immune.
No.
I mean, that's just a part of life. But how does that impact?
Marriage, because you're the marriage expert. So like when you're counseling couples or teaching or studying on the subject, like how do you see that affect your marriage?
Well, you've heard me say this so many times, but it's worth repeating in my mind because your marriage, really any relationship, but your marriage can only be as healthy as you are.
Yeah.
If you want to eradicate insecurity, you've got to get a lock on what I call your profound significance. And it's, if we don't get a lock on that, we are continually trying to find our significance in places that won't ever give it to us. So insecurity, that's why I love the show that you're doing. It's so vital to so many things in our lives.
Totally, yeah.
But certainly when it comes to marriage, you just can't have a healthy relationship until you get a handle on that. And like I said, for me, it comes down to understanding that God loves you like nobody else could ever love you.
Yep. Yes.
Which
is so crucial because I'm like, you have two imperfect people coming into a relationship, right? And so having that foundation of that healthiness is so huge. So I'm just curious, off the top of your head, what are like the top insecurities you see with women and also then with men? Like, are they different?
Yeah,
but like, as a psychologist, a doctor, if you will.
As you called me once, a real doctor.
I know. At one time I was like, let's not like you're a doctor or something. And I was like, oh no, you are. You're Dr. Les Parrott.
Just went to graduate school for 8 years, that's all.
No big deal.
But for women, this is no surprise, but it's body image, right? The biggest insecurities, and there's been dramatic studies on that, even with supermodels. It just seems like a thing.
Totally.
And guys often feel, they can suffer from body image stuff too, but not to the same degree. But it's usually, what's my worth? What am I providing?
Yes.
Those are the big insecurities.
Yep.
The big
So
gender
good.
difference.
Totally, totally. So we talk a lot about comparison on this show, and comparison fuels insecurity because you have this measuring stick that you feel like you're not measuring up to what you're seeing on social media.
Right.
But do you see comparisons affecting marriages?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
And the more insecure you are, the more comparisons there are.
Yeah.
And you think about it, think about the healthiest people you know that don't suffer from too much insecurity. They're not looking around and, oh man, I wish we were more like this or more like those people, or we had that, or we got that vacation or whatever. And that's why I love, this book. It just happens to be here on your own set.
Oh, what's that, Wes?
No, we didn't plan this, but this is so true. Love your life, not theirs.
Yeah.
That's all about, if you think about it, it's about stepping outside of that insecure lifestyle so that you can be comfortable and content in who you are and in our relationship. That's the happiest people on this planet are content because they don't think, man, I wish I could be more like them or have more of that or have that house or have that boat or whatever.
Yep.
And so the comparison thing, you're just asking for trouble. You're playing with fire when it comes to comparisons.
Totally. And a lot of comparison happens on social media. So what would you say to one couple that maybe they're fighting about social media and one couple one spouse spends so much time on social media and the other doesn't?
So I just read this study that shows that couples that are the happiest have incredibly thick boundaries around social media.
Interesting.
Yes, and so
Winston Cruze will be very happy you're talking about this right now.
So, and it's not just putting boundaries around, we need rules, and I don't mean kind of boundaries like that. It's you find your groove with it in a way that honors your spouse, so they don't feel like I'm playing second fiddle in this relationship because he's really married to that
Yeah.
phone and all that social media.
Okay, so you talk a lot about fighting well, like having a
Yeah.
good fight. And so I love that because some couples believe, oh, well, we never fight, so we have a great marriage.
Yeah, right.
Where that's kind of the opposite. That
Yeah.
means you're probably not really digging in. So talk about conflict. I just want to know conflict in general, your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so conflict is so important because, as you've heard me say it so many times, it's the price we pay for a better connection. It's the admission to a good relationship.
So good.
Fights are not-
Conflict is the price you pay for intimacy. Is like what I've heard you say. I'm like, oh, it's so good. That's such a good quote.
It's true because the goal is not to avoid conflict. If you do that, you're going to walk around on eggshells and nobody's going to be genuine with each other.
Yep.
The goal is to be able to express whatever it is that you're not, in agreement with or what have you, and still honor your spouse and be understood and understanding. And those kinds of fights are good.
Yeah, so good. Oh,
yeah.
so interesting. So we'll end by this. I'm just curious, as we were doing these questions for you, I was like, oh, I just want to know, since we're on my curiosity, what are like the top 3 things that create a healthy marriage?
All right. Well, one is awareness.
Okay,
I think
okay.
there's this idea that you can just kind of go float through life and you're just in love and that's all you need. No. You've got to be aware of the emotional landscape around you, which involves you and this other person. And that awareness, and by the way, we have an assessment. It's called Better Love.
Yes.
It is all about creating awareness for
So
couples.
good. Winston and I took it. It's awesome.
BetterLove.com. You go online, you answer a few questions, generates this little 10-page report that is really a customized roadmap for your relationship. And so anyway, I think awareness has got to be near the top of the list for me.
Good.
A second is empathy.
It's good.
Seeing the world from somebody else's perspective and vice versa. And when you have 2 people that are both working on that, life doesn't get much sweeter.
Yeah, it's good.
So awareness and then empathy and then old faithful communication. How in the world do you have a good relationship without having great conversations?
So good.
That's the challenge.
Les, thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you.
Always a pleasure.
As always.
So fun. Okay,
Yeah.
we've been talking about our event, Money and Marriage, you guys. It's a blast.
I know. And I'm excited because Valentine's, we're going to do this again right here in Nashville. Money and Marriage. Talk about an ideal Valentine date for couples.
That's right.
It's going to be a blast.
I know, you guys. So we'll put a link in the show notes. Click on it because it's like Valentine's weekend. And there's going to be a whole weekend experience here in Nashville, like a whole thing. So make sure to check it out. He talks marriage. I talk money. It's a fun event. It's great. It's great. Les, thanks again.
All right. Thank you.
So fun. Oh, Dr. Les Parrott always has great advice, always. Well, thanks so much to him and Lacey for coming on today. And I know the things that we've talked about in today's show can be a little uncomfortable at times, but it's such an important topic. And this is the kind of stuff that makes a big impact in your life. And now I'd love for you to subscribe and listen to the podcast of the show if you haven't already, so make sure to check that out. And as always, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.